The landscape with the ferry was created by Salomon von Ruysdael in 1649. This was right after the Treaty of Munster. That treaty gave the Dutch people their land and their freedom from Spain. This masterpiece shows off all of the things that the Dutch had been fighting for. It shows all the beautiful scenery and landscape of the Netherlands. This picture, as well as many other of the Ruysdael artworks, are painted from along the sides of the Rhine's River. It is believed that he could have painted many more Rhine riverside paintings, but that they did not survive throughout time. More likely, they were taken by the Nazis and never recovered. Finally, in 1648, they came to an agreement with the Spanish and gained their freedom. Both sides signed the treaty in a small town of Munster, hence the name of the Treaty of Munster. Now that they had earned their independence, the Dutch began to move around and explore their newly owned land. They could finally look around and realize what all they had fought for and earned. It was finally theirs to call their own. The Dutch people felt both relieved that the long and hard war was finally over, but also felt a feeling of pride and nationalism because they had earned it. This is part of why River Landscape with a Ferry meant so much to the Dutch people. It was showing off what they had been fighting for nearly a century. It showed all the beautiful Rhine's riverside and made people feel so many different emotions. It helped the Dutch people realize that their long fight had been worth it. It was now their land, not Spain's land or anyone else's. It was something they could finally call their own. In Salomon von Ruysdael's painting River Landscape with a Ferry, he was trying to get the Dutch people to feel privileged that they had fought for and earned their land. He wanted to show why it was so important for them to fight by showing off the pure beauty of the Dutch landscape. Most of the Dutch people had never seen the countryside or all of the beauty that the Netherlands had to offer. He wanted to show everyone what that was and why it was so important. Most people had grown up in war times, and now that it was over, they were finally starting to take in all of the landscapes. They could finally see it through their own eyes because it was theirs to own. He wanted everyone who had never seen the Rhine River before to see it and just feel the pure awe and beauty of it. It would shock the people and give them that feeling of pride in their newfound country. With the Netherlands being new, he wanted people to not feel nervous about doing all of this government work and such on their own, but feel joyful that they were free to write their own futures and do their own work. The creator of this masterpiece was Salomon von Ruysdael. He was born in 1602 in Naarden, Netherlands. He had an older brother named Isaac von Ruysdael, who was a much less known but still very talented artist. His original last name was de Goyer until his brother Isaac changed it to Ruysdael. He changed it to be named after a castle near their father's homeland. Salomon von Ruysdael became a very well-known artist during the Dutch Golden Age. Although it is not known who taught Salomon von Ruysdael, it is widely believed that he was greatly influenced by an artist named Esaias van de Velde, who was known for painting river landscapes. Salomon von Ruysdael painted the river landscape with a ferry in 1649, when he was in the prime for his artwork. It was one of his later paintings, so he already had the experience and had perfected his skills. Salomon von Ruysdael died on November 3, 1670, in the town of Haarlem, Netherlands. His nephew, son of Isaac von Ruysdael, also became a very well-known artist. His name was Jacob von Ruysdael. Jacob later became the first in the family to spell their last name with an I, which is why you sometimes see it spelled differently. Jacques Goodsticker was the man who originally owned the river landscape with the ferry. He was born on August 30th, 1897 in Amsterdam, Netherlands. He was a Jewish art dealer and was one of the most well-known collectors throughout all of Netherlands and Europe. He was born into an art collecting family and as such studied art throughout his time in college. He took over his family's art gallery when he turned 22 and immediately made it one of the most well-known galleries throughout all of Europe. By the time the Nazis came around, his gallery had around 1,400 masterpieces, many of which were Ruysdael's. He planned out an escape route when the war started. Being a well-known Jewish figure, Jacques knew he would eventually need to leave Netherlands, and fast. He applied for United States visas and got them rather quickly for himself, his wife, and his young son. He then transferred some money into an account in New York and tried to leave. However, the Nazis invaded Netherlands before he could leave because he had waited too long and his visas had expired. Luckily for him, his wife was an opera singer, and one of the soldiers guarding the SS Bodegraven recognized her from a performance she did for the troops and let them on board. Sadly, however, with expired visas, the Goodsticker family could not get off at the first stop in England and was forced to continue on board the ship into the next stop, trying to escape the Nazis. Sadly, one night, Jacques went up to the top of the deck and was trying to get away from all of the people and get some fresh air, and fell through an uncovered hatch and died. It was either on May 15, 1940, very late at night, or May 16, 1940, very early in the morning, going across the English Channel, that he died. A little while later, his wife and son were allowed to get off the ship in Falmouth, England, where she quickly had him buried. She then proceeded to take her son to Canada and then down to the United States. He had been forced to leave all of his gallery behind in hopes of escaping the Nazis, and all of it fell into their hands. The Allied forces recovered around 200 paintings from his gallery and gave it to the Dutch government in hopes that they would return it to his family or their heirs. Instead, the Dutch government put it in the Dutch National Collection. To this day, 1,000 of the pieces from his gallery are still missing. The Nazi invasion of Netherlands was called Case Yellow, and it lasted from May 10, 1940 to May 14, 1940. The Dutch originally had known that the German armies were far superior to their own, and they hoped to stay neutral throughout the whole war. However, that was not a part of Hitler's plan. In the few brief days of fighting, the Germans killed around 2,200 Dutch soldiers and injured around 2,700. They also killed around 2,000 civilians. This was one of the bigger victories for the Nazis as far as artwork theft goes, because they were trying to get the Ruysdael gallery. They took all of his approximately 1,400 artworks. It is believed that this is the largest single act of theft that the Nazis committed throughout the entire war. Also, Adolf Hitler's second-in-command, Hermann Göring, even had some of them delivered directly to his house. He had around 800 of the paintings delivered to him personally. One of them was the Salomon von Ruysdael's River Landscape with a Ferry. Out of all the 1,400 paintings in the Ruysdael collection, only about 200 were recovered by the end of the war. The Allies found the majority of that 200 inside Hermann's countryside mansion. As everyone has been taught throughout their lives, the Allied forces won World War II. The Allies consisted of England, the United States, the Soviet Union, and China. The Allies also had some less known members, such as Australia, Belgium, Canada, Costa Rica, Cuba, and many more. They were battling against the Axis powers, who were made up of Germany, Italy, and Japan. The war started on September 1st, 1939, and ended September 2nd, 1945. Throughout this time, the Nazis stole countless works of art from people and collectors all across Europe. The Allies, realizing that this would be a problem, created the Monuments Men. This is a group of people that would go around and find stolen artwork and try to protect what was left, or reconstruct what had been destroyed. They recovered many priceless artworks like the River Landscape with a Ferry. That, as well as 200 other paintings from the Ruysdael gallery, were recovered from Hermann Göring's personal countryside mansion. These were given to the Dutch government. The Monuments Men hoped that the government would return these to the Ruysdael family, but instead they put them in the Dutch National Gallery, and later to museums throughout Netherlands. The River Landscape with a Ferry was put in the Rijksmuseum Netherlands in 1960. It remained there until it was finally returned to the Ruysdael family in 2006. The Dutch government fought hard to keep this painting in the museum because they said it had become a national emblem. People had grown up their entire lives seeing it there. Eventually, though, they were forced to give the painting back to the heirs of the Ruysdael family, who later sold it to the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. Early in 1946, Jacques Ruysdael's wife, Desiree, tried to get what was recovered by the Monuments Men from her husband's gallery back. However, after 7 years of fighting the Dutch government, they declared that the artwork was national property of the Netherlands and that it could not be returned. It was then sent out across the Netherlands to different museums. The Dutch government established a restitution committee in 2002, who was then tasked with investigating all claims that involved World War II Nazi-stolen artwork. The heirs of the Ruysdael family went to the committee to have their case reopened in 2004. They were trying to get back 267 pieces from the original gallery. In December 2005, the committee asked the Dutch government to return 202 out of the 267 pieces to the heirs. Finally, on February the 6th, 2006, the Dutch government returned 200 paintings to the Ruysdael's heirs. This was one of the largest restitutions of Nazi-stolen art to date. The National Gallery of Art is located in Washington, D.C. on the National Mall. It is one of the world's largest and most well-renowned museums. The river landscape with the ferry was sold, along with many other of the Ruysdael Gallery artworks, to the National Gallery of Art in 2007. It has been on display there ever since. It has been well taken care of and shown to anyone that comes to the museum. It shows people what the Dutch countryside looked like and why it was worth fighting for. It encourages all younger generations to study and learn about Dutch history and see why they fought so hard for it.